Welcome to the Pat Imig Sports Network, broadcasting from Imig Studios in St. Louis, Missouri. Now, your host, Pat Imig.
What's up, everybody? It's Pat Imig inside the Imig Studios. It's the Pat Imig Sports Network. And depending on when you're listening to this, the Super Bowl is either coming up very shortly or we just had it. And, of course, it's Super Bowl 60 in San Francisco. And so for today's episode, we're doing a little throwback to Super Bowl 50, which was also in San Francisco. And I was actually there on site covering for CBS Sports Radio in St. Louis. So before we started this channel on YouTube, before we started all the sports content over the summer, I used to do this for a living, actually, in case you guys did not know that. So I was at CBS Sports in St. Louis, host of drive time shows, and that's where we went out to San Francisco to cover Super Bowl 50, where it was the Carolina Panthers losing to the Denver Broncos. A very non-exciting, anticlimactic Super Bowl, if there ever was one. But in addition to all that, we stockpiled some of our favorite interviews from that. And so today on this episode, we're going to go through some different interview sound bites, and we'll provide context as well. But you never really know who's going to show up at Radio Row at Super Bowl 50, or at any Super Bowl, I should say. So hope you enjoy what you're going to hear. We're going to start off with an interview with Kurt Warner, the Hall of Fame quarterback. I grew up in St. Louis. I was a fan of the 1999 Super Bowl champion St. Louis Rams. So naturally, when Kurt Warner came by, we got pretty excited to speak with him. And one of the things we talked about was how he is one of the most clutch players in playoff history in the National Football League.
Looking back at your career, your postseason numbers, one of the most prolific passers, it almost seemed like it was easier for you to focus in those big games.
I would just say one of my greatest gifts was my ability to focus. And the bigger the moment, the more I was able to focus. And so, regular season was great, and I enjoyed those games. But you get to a point, and I think because I had success so early and won the championship the first year, where every year the 16 games were really just setting me up for the postseason. I mean, that was really how I looked at it, is that I enjoyed playing and I wanted to win, but more importantly, I wanted to compete against the best in the world, and I wanted to get to the postseason and do that part of it, because I felt like that's where I had the ability to kind of separate myself.
Kurt Warner, one of the most prolific passers in NFL history, so he naturally just took that question. If you watched him play for the Arizona Cardinals when he kind of resurrected them and got them to the Super Bowl, obviously he took the Rams, got them to the Super Bowl. Pretty incredible what he did, and his entire regular season, it's interesting to hear how these Hall of Fame athletes kind of like go about business. For him, it was just almost like a routine. And he just wanted to get to the playoffs because that's where he could actually show he was the best. And the fact that he took the Arizona Cardinals to the Super Bowl, they outlasted the Packers and Aaron Rodgers in that shootout. I think it was like a 51-45 game, something like that. Pretty incredible. If I was a real journalist, I'd tell you all the great stats he had, but this isn't a real stat-hungry show. So just Google it. Google Kurt Warner's postseason numbers. No, I'm just kidding. We'll get those for you, maybe. We're really not going to. Zach's disgusted with himself right now.
Everyone is a fan of Kurt Warner. I don't think that there's anything wrong with bringing him up and not talking about the most amazing stat that there is that he was on the team that won the only Super Bowl for the St. Louis Rams.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Super Bowl MVP in that game as well. So we spent about 15 minutes with them. That was around the time when it was actually like 3 weeks after the Rams left for LA. So this is like January of 2016. He was obviously he was realistic about it. We asked him about that. He was very disappointed for the fans of St. Louis, but he also, understood it from a business perspective. But we talked also about how when he played very briefly for the Green Bay Packers, he was cut because he was afraid to fail. So let's go to that soundbite, because this is like a universal, anybody can apply this to their life type of soundbite from Kurt Warner, the ultimate underdog.
Kurt Warner, the life coach.
Is it true that in that Green Bay era that you didn't feel ready?
That is true. They tried to put me into practice, my second day there where they just given me the playbook. And I kind of had the approach that I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know if I can call the play in the huddle. And I took the approach that if I don't go in, then I can't screw up and they can't send me home. And it turned out that I didn't go in, and it just kind of showed them, well, we don't want this guy leading our team if he's afraid to go in and fail, even if it's the second day of camp. And so learned a great lesson from that, as a player and a guy in that position, you can't ever be afraid to fail. If you're afraid to fail, you'll never fully succeed the way you want to. So true story that did happen, but I learned a lot from it, and I think it helped shape who I would become later on.
So that's coming from a guy who, in his postseason career, 13 playoff games, threw for 3,952 yards, so nearly 4,000 yards passing in 13 career playoff games, 31 touchdowns, 14 picks, and a 102.8 passer rating. Postseason records for highest career passing average at 8.55 yards, so yards per attempt. Not sure how many hardcore football fans are tuned in at this moment, but yards per attempt is actually one of the most telling stats for success. And in fact, Drake May, I believe, and Sam Darnold both are two of the leaders in yards per attempt this year, which not surprising that they're both the Super Bowl quarterbacks.
I'm so glad that we opened this show up saying we're not a stat show.
Right. But yeah, he's one of the most prolific postseason passers of all time. He's Kurt Warner. And you just heard that soundbite. He was afraid to fail when he was, even before he was with the Rams. This is with the Green Bay Packers, and then he got cut and went to stocking shelves at a grocery store, which is, again, still kind of hard to believe that happened.
He's a humble man.
He is. He's Kurt Warner, and you can obviously hear him on the Westwood One radio games. He does a great job with Kevin Harlan. That's hardcore, old-school football broadcasts. In addition to Kurt Warner, we also...
Let's have that be an episode.
Huh?
Let's have that just be an episode.
What?
Just interview Kurt Warner.
Okay.
So just wrap it up, and then we'll do another one.
Okay.
Yeah. You're still rolling.
Cool. So that's a little bit on Kurt Warner, one of the greatest playoff quarterbacks of all time, taking the moribund franchises of the St. Louis Rams and former St. Louis Cardinals, the Arizona Cardinals, to the Super Bowl, winning one of them with the St. Louis Rams. And actually, depending on who you talk to, the 2001 Rams that lost to the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl, there's a lot of people, and I think I'm one of those people, who would say that team was actually better than the 99 team that won the Super Bowl. But
100%.
Obviously, wins matter, so we'll have to stick with 99, I guess. But if you enjoyed this, leave us a comment if you're a Kurt Warner fan. If you ever had a run-in with Kurt Warner, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but if you've ever met him, feel free to let us know how he treated you, because I'm sure it was like you were royalty, one of the great dudes. And that him and his wife, Brenda, still doing a lot of charity work in St. Louis, even though they don't live here anymore. So comment, like, subscribe, Pat Imig Sports Network. Get Pissin' right here on YouTube and all the socials, GETPISN. For producer Zach and for Kurt Warner, I'm Pat Imig, and we'll see you next
Thanks
time.
for watching the Pat Imig Sports Network, powered by Imig.ai. For exclusive sports content and clips you can't find anywhere else, follow along on social media at Get Pissin'.
Every single night, from the tip off to the touchdown, I break it down. Sports talk royalty, I wear the crown. Dynasties rise, legacies never fall. Every win got a story, I tell it all. Last minute buzzer beaters, ice in the vein. Post game speeches and champagne rain. From the World Cup heat to the Super Bowl lights, calling plays in the zone. Open up your eyes, Imig Sports Network, dropping value like clockwork. If you really want insight, get it right. Watch the videos every single night. Pat Imig Sports Network, dropping value like clockwork. If you really want insight, get it right. Watch the videos every single night. Yeah. Talk talking MVPs. Yeah, I see the vision. Grinding for the chip, this is more than a mission. Trade talks, headlines, locker room vibes. Breaking news quicker than a 40-yard time guide. Eyes on the court, hard in the ring. Every athlete's journey, I let that sing. Olympic gold to college ball pride. If it's clutch, I got it covered worldwide. Pat Imig Sports Network, dropping value like clockwork. If you really want insight, get it right. Watch the videos every single night. Pat Imig Sports Network, dropping value like clockwork. If you really want insight, get it right. Watch the videos every single night.